What's up, everybody? Like the channel says, my name is Chris and I know how to read.
Allegedly.
And today we're going to be talking about my TBR for August 2024. But I'm really excited for my August TBR because I have finished 75 Hard at this point, and I am so excited to hop back into fiction. And in reality, I could have read fiction and nonfiction during 75 Hard, but that's too much for me. I got 2 workouts, all that water, like I can't. It's too much. So currently I have the books right in front of me right here. We have 4 fiction books and 1 nonfiction book that I want to get back into. Now, if some of y'all watched my last video, I said that up to this point I have read 10 books. From January to June I read 10 books, and I currently have 5 books for my August TBR. That is a lot, and I don't plan on finishing all of these, but I am trying to figure out if I can film a 24-hour readathon or a read with me or whatever in August. So I'm hoping to get at least 2 of these books knocked out then, and then I could finish the other 3 in kind of like my spare time. And I'm really excited. I'm so happy with how much I'm reading and reading in general. And as much as I love nonfiction, I think I truly am a nonfiction lover at heart. I am so excited to read some of these amazing stories. Let's talk about them. But let's knock out the nonfiction first. The nonfiction book I'm planning to read this month is Get Capone, The Secret Plot That Captured America's Most Wanted Gangster by Jonathan Eig. This book I've had for a very long time. I think I talked about it in my bookshelf tour video, but I went through a true crime phase when I was in middle school. I think I got this in middle school or high school, and Al Capone was like a dog. A terrible person, don't get me wrong, but the quintessential American gangster. This book is essentially detailing his rise and his fall, the chokehold that he had on 1920 Chicago. And this is the type of book that's right up my alley. Like, I love nonfiction, but I love when it also tells a story. It's one of the reasons I loved War Against All Puerto Ricans so much. But I'm really hoping I enjoy this. This is prime, like, little library, maybe try and sell the book or donate it somewhere, but I'm gonna read it, see if I like it, and if I don't, hopefully it can go to someone who will appreciate it more than I do. It's a book I've been so excited to hop back into ever since I saw it when I was doing my bookshelf tour, is Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, graphic novel of all time. I'm not a very good describer. I don't know if y'all have noticed that so far in these past few videos, but the artwork in this book is crazy. The story that is being told is also so captivating, and so just like, this is a literal page turner. For those of y'all that have not consumed any Watchmen content in the past, however, I think this came out in the 80s. In the past like 40 years since this came out, essentially it's a world very similar to ours up until like the 1930s, right? 1930s come through, superheroes are real, superheroes exist. Now, some of them are really smart, some of them are really strong, but there is one like god figure of a hero, and his name is Dr. Manhattan. You might have seen some memes about Dr. Manhattan on Mars. This is where they come from. So primarily because of heroes like Dr. Manhattan, our world that was about the same up until the 1930s starts to radically change. Because of the scientific advancements and the wartime advancements that Dr. Manhattan was able to provide, the US definitively wins Vietnam, Richard Nixon gets reelected for a second term, and Watergate just fully doesn't happen, right? And that's where we join this book. It's about the 1970s when all this starts taking place. Towards the end of the 1970s, the heroes that have been such a big part of the world's history up until this point, from the 30s to the 70s, they start to lose kind of public approval, and the US enacts a law that essentially says all superheroes are illegal, similar to like the Incredibles or Captain America Civil War. Now, most of these heroes either go into retirement, some of them start like vigilanteism, and some of them are like government-sponsored agents for the United States, like Dr. Manhattan. And the story starts out with you, the reader, finding out that one of these kind of like wartime heroes of a superhero called the Comedian has been murdered. And you kind of follow this journey not only on how or why the Comedian has been murdered, but you start to follow these personal relationships between heroes, between people, the relationships that the heroes and the people have, the heroes and the public has. You start to follow this like 1970s, 1980s chic America where also heroes exist, and it's just so fascinating fascinating to me as someone who grew up loving superheroes, and all the character work is great, and like all of these superheroes are terrible people. Most of them at least are terrible people. It's just which one do you agree with more and which one do you agree with less. Some of the scenes with Dr. Manhattan when he's on Mars, I know it got like memed a lot, are some of the best writing. I think the artwork is crazy. If you haven't had a chance to read this, I think this was like $25. Like it's not a big money investment. It is truly an insane piece of fiction, and I can't wait to hop back into it. Read it if you haven't already. That's my recommendation. I promise I will read books that I haven't read before, but until then, the next book that I'm going to read in August is Sherlock Holmes, The Complete Novels and Stories, Volume 1. Now, this is one of those books I don't think I'm going to finish in August because it's a thickums, and there's also a part 2 up there. I don't know if y'all can see it, but the main reason I want to do this is because I want to try and do like a reading Sherlock Holmes in 2024 video. I just want to figure out, like, was Sherlock Holmes actually a good detective? Like, on the back of this, it says 221B Baker Street, where Sherlock Holmes earned his undisputed reputation as the greatest fictional detective of all time. Like, was he really built like that, or was he just addicted to cocaine? Like, I think if you give like a mid-20s woman who loves true crime the entirety of Wikipedia and like the National Police Registry, is that a modern Sherlock Holmes? Who's to say? But I do want to read Sherlock Holmes again to see if my hypothesis, to see if my line of questioning is correct, because maybe he's not built like that. Maybe Arthur Conan Doyle, or Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, excuse me, is just a good writer, and maybe he always has Sherlock figuring out the answer. One of my favorite covers I've ever seen on a book, I don't know what it is, maybe it's a reflective covering, maybe it's the Greek styling, I don't know, but Circe by Madeline Miller is one of the books that I am definitely going to read in August. Madeline Miller, for those of y'all who don't know, also wrote Song of Achilles, which also got rave reviews, and I was originally planning on getting that because it came out before this one, but once I found out they weren't related and I saw them stacked next to each other on the Barnes & Noble table, I said I'm going with the pretty one. From what I understand, obviously, this book follows the titular character, Circe, as she gets rejected from God world or something. I don't know. Madeline Miller is from, I have not heard a critique of her writing, and maybe I haven't been doing a lot of research into that, but I have only heard good things about this book. I have Percy Jackson. I went through that Greek phase, that Greek mythology obsession phase that we all went through, or at least that most people I know went through, and I'm really excited to hop into this book because Greek mythology and the stories of heroes and legends and tales and gods and everything in between, it's always something that I've associated with my childhood. So in my mind, it's always been like, oh, Greek mythology is for kids, which obviously is not true. That is obviously not true. But I also haven't found something, honestly, past Percy Jackson that is written for like an older audience in mind, and that's fully my fault. Like, I haven't done the research, but to know that something like Circe, like A Song of Achilles, something that Madeline Miller has written, has kind of breached into the popular culture, I'm really excited about. So Circe or Watchmen is going to be the first book I read in August officially, and I'm kind of leaning towards Circe because I kind of want to rediscover that love for something I had in my childhood. So I'm just really excited to read it, honestly. Like, I don't know if y'all have figured this out from the past few videos I've made, but I'm not a good describer. I need to work on my describing. Last but not least, oh my God, Emmy Reads. I don't know if you're ever gonna watch this video, but I hope you get your finder's fee, your percentage from whoever published this book, because I fully only got it because she recommended it. And then I'm watching one of her like more recent videos, and she said something like, I have to forget, I'm paraphrasing, I have to forget this book exists, otherwise it ruins reading for me because nothing will match up to it. If y'all haven't already guessed it, I'm talking about 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Cortez. And it's like, why? I know I've had this book for a very long time. I wish I could remember exactly when I got this book, but I know this book is about, so this book has 417 pages. I just checked, right? And when I talk about 6 out of 5 star books, if I had to give a 6 out of 5 star book, it'd be War Against All Puerto Ricans, and it'd be The Overstory, which I read on my Kindle. And I know for a fact that this book is gonna be 5 out of 5, 6 out of 5 star territory. And I just, do I read it? Do I not read it? It's a struggle. So essentially, the very little I know about this book, you are following a family, a lineage of a royal family in this fictional town called Macondo, and I can't. That's all I know. That's truly all I know. But if someone could say this book almost ruined reading for me, like, how do you not go out and buy that book? Maybe that's just good marketing. Maybe I fell for big book. Maybe I got influenced. And I'm honestly also really excited to read more Latin authors. I was thinking about it before I started recording this video. I have this book written by a Latin author. David Sanchez is written, I was going to say All Day is a Long Time by David Sanchez is written by a Latin author. So is Nelson A. Dennis. He's Puerto Rican. And so it's like, I don't know exactly how many books I have that are written by Latin authors, but it's definitely like a genre of author, if that exists, that I really want to hop into. I got to see how many of them I have off rip. Y'all might have gotten a sneak peek if you looked closely at the thumbnail, because I didn't want to do like too good of a job hiding the books that I was going to read. But this is the TBR for August, and this is going to be a whole lot of words that are going to be in my brain. This is probably the most excited I've been to read a collection of books in so long. So I hope y'all stick around with me to get my reviews of these books once I finish the month. But with that in mind, I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. If this is your first time watching me, I hope I was able to provide a cool environment for y'all to learn about and talk about books. If you liked the video, leave a like, leave a comment. What are you reading in August? Maybe give me a suggestion for something I could either read in August or September or any other month of my life. And if you really like the content I'm putting out, please leave a subscribe. Help me out, help the channel grow. I would really appreciate it. But with that in mind, it's getting kind of late. It's my bedtime, if I'm being honest with you. It's past my bedtime. My iPhone alarm is not happy with me because it is past my bedtime. But with that in mind, I hope y'all have a beautiful day, a beautiful night, whatever time you're watching this. I hope your day goes well, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.